Welcome to Game 6 of my Bayou Battles battle report. For Game 6, Round 6, I was sitting at 2 big wins and 3 minor losses. Something I didn't mention at the end of the last game. I said that I had 7 points. I actually got 10 points because I managed to get some objective points. So my current point total stood at like 20, 18, 10, 7, 7. Not bad. My average score per game then worked out to be about, I don't know, 12 or 13 at that point. I'm not sure exactly what the math is, but I was doing okay. I knew I was in the middle of the pack, or maybe top 20 at this point. So I went ahead and checked the pairings after lunch and discovered that I was going to play against another dwarf list. This list in particular was a new army for this guy, so his models hadn't been painted yet. He had some pretty fun handcrafted earth elementals, which I thought were cool, and I'm sure they'll look great once they're all painted up. But he was definitely a much more shooty dwarf list than mine was. I'm combat dwarves, and he's definitely shooting dwarves. So he had a horde of shooters, or horde of rifles with the jar of the 4 winds, so they had 36-inch range. He had a couple of bombards, he had a cannon, he had a couple of flame cannons, stone priests, a standard bearer, and a king on a large beast, and he had 2 naked regiments of berserker Brock riders to give him some punch and some range in close combat. That was all fine and good. I was a little nervous about his ability to put damage on me with high piercing. It's a good way to get rid of my elementals, which sort of form the backbone of my defense. And so I was a little bit nervous about his list. However, the scrying gem to the rescue. He was forced to deploy 4 units on the first turn, so I rolled pretty good on that. And so by that time, he had already sort of tipped his hand as to where he was going to go. He put his rifles way over there on the left, which gave me an opportunity to deploy to the right and use some cover in the hopes that it would prevent some of the worst damage from going. He also had a troop of berserker, or one of his regiments of berserker Brock Riders was far left, so it would take 3-4 turns to get to me. And on the right-hand side, in the center, he had his elementals, but they had a long way to go to get to my lines. And then he had his Brock Riders over there on my right. And then on the far right, I think he kind of shot himself in the foot. He put 2 of his war machines, his king and a large beast, and his standard bearer over there, which caused me to make some different choices. So here's my center, just sort of defense in the middle, and organ cannons facing his Brock Riders, and that's it. So you'll see my central deployment there. I got flame cannons there. I've got 2 organ cannons aimed at his Brock Riders. And then on my far right, I have a pile of death. That little dragon model, by the way, is the scenario. This is yet another kill scenario. Heroes, my Brock Rider, his king had a pet dragon that had to stay close to them and kind of fight what they fought. And the objective was to kill your opponent's dragon and to protect your own. And that was worth 400 victory points. So it was actually a pretty good coup if you could kill their dragon. So that's his left. You'll see his bombard behind the forest, his shooty guys, and his Brocks. And his middle, 2 flame cannons, his 2 elemental hordes, his Brocks. And his left, again, one of those giant hills, still counts as height 1. His king kind of hanging out there behind it, his dragon, his 2 war machines, and his hero. So I got turn 1, and after a lot of careful measuring, advanced my sort of death squad up the front a little bit. And sorry about that little pause. I had a kitten jump into my lap, and he had very sharp feet. All right, so my plan was I'm just gonna triple charge his war machines, kill his hero, overrun into the war machine, hopefully kill his dragon in the top of 2, and all will be right with the world. I advanced in the middle a little bit, just a little bit. I'm not sure why. I probably could have hung back. I think I was trying to get some cover to the earth elementals from that wall. I don't remember. Anyway, I moved up a little bit. I also advanced my guns up so that he couldn't just back away. His shooting put a bunch of wounds on the ironclad, which is fine by me. I was expecting them to die to shooting anyway. Over here, he failed to do any wounds to me with shooting, I think. He backed up a little bit, but it didn't help much. Oh, he did some wounds to the Brock Riders. Yeah, so I didn't get a picture of this charge, but I charged the king into one war machine, the Brock Lord into the other war machine, and the Berserker Brock Riders into his little dragon. By the way, the little dragon's defense 5 and has an 8 or like a 9-11 nerve, right? No problem. I don't think there's any problem. I'm going to pop him with the Brock Riders. He's going to die. Everything's going to be fine, right? No. I failed to break the stupid dragon with my Brock Riders, which leaves them vulnerable to a flank charge from his Brock Riders, which had sustained significant wounds from shooting in the round before. So he came over and crushed my Brock Riders between his king and his Brock Riders, and that sucked. So on my turn, I countercharge, and I put my my Brock Lord into his dragon, because I want his dragon to die. I put my dragon into the flank of his Brock Riders. I put my king into the rear, and I put my troop of Brock Riders into the front of his, and kill it, turning around. That leaves my my Brock Lord is in the way of his Lord from charging my dragon, so he's going to have to charge my Brock Lord, which isn't going to go well for him. And that's just sort of another vision of what's going on over there. And so yeah, I didn't get a picture of it again. As I go on in tournaments, I don't always get all the pictures I need. His king did charge my Brock Rider troop, did some wounds to them, but the counter charge killed him. I killed him with my Brock Lord and the counter charge from the Brock Riders and from the king. I just basically triple charged him and he popped. Over here, he's sort of losing hope a little bit. Now I can focus my shooting on his earth elementals. I do a pretty good job of that. He starts advancing them. He's like, well, what do I do now? So he tries to get a little surge charge into the front of the ironclad. His shooting has, at this point, killed my my other ironclad unit. He's put a couple of wounds on my organ gun, and he's preparing to charge my earth elementals, but I put him in some terrain, so he'll at least be disrupted, and then they'll just kind of beat on each other for 2 rounds. I see his other earth elementals coming at me to the flank. They're not there yet. I'm not too worried. And just this is another version of the battle, another vision of it. He just constantly put wounds on me. Oh, I forgot. He smoked my greater elemental, bastard. He shoots 1 volley of rifles into the greater earth elemental, does like 5 or 6 wounds. He needs 11 to pop him. He rolls an 11. He needs another 11. He rolls another 11. He pops him on double 11. So, good on him. Over here, he is considering his flank charge. He surges into the front of the ironclad. God, what a terrible picture. And this is the last picture of the game. So he surges into the front of the ironclad. He does not pop them. The shield breakers then, of course, flank his unit of elementals and kill them. And at this point, he goes ahead and concedes the game. He's like, I got a 3-hour drive home. This is where this is ending. This is where the game ends. I got a 3-hour drive home. I'll go ahead and concede there. So that was the end of the game. I wound up picking up all the objective points, so I got 20 points out of this game, which was a pretty big boost to my overall score. And that was the end of Bayou Battles. So I'm going to get back to a picture that doesn't suck. That picture sucks. That picture's more clear. All right. I'm just going to stay here because that other picture was bad and talk about my thoughts about the tournament real quick. I had a great time. This was my first Kings of War GT. It was my first 6-game grand tournament. I really like my list, and I'm very grateful to the people that I've played on Universal Battle for really kind of pushing me and teaching me how to play the game. I think if I came into this tournament without a lot of experience in Kings of War, I would have just gotten slaughtered. But as it stood, I went 3-3, 3 big wins and 3 minor losses. I was pretty happy with my performance. I know that the games that I lost because I did something key that was stupid, and I love that about this game. It's very rare that you get beat by dice. It's very rare that you get beat by a list. It's very rare that you get beat by you never get beat by a big spell that kills you. You never get beat by a big miscast. None of that ever happens. If you get beat, it's probably because you did something and made a mistake, and somebody capitalized on it. So it's really a general versus general game, as opposed to an army versus army game. That's not to say the game's perfect. I think that if I learned anything, it's that when a tournament is organized around mostly kill scenarios, you're going to see a lot of gun lines. The truth is, of my 6 games, I saw 4 gun lines, 3 gun lines. Half of them were gun lines. I'm not sure. Let's see. The dwarves, the 2 rat lists. Yeah, 3 gun lines. And I think that's probably something that Mantic didn't want to have happen. I think they wanted a game that was more about close combat with shooting support. But when things are all kill missions, it's really easy to just go ahead and take those very shooty 4 up to hit, rat lists and even dwarf lists with lots of bombards and stuff. I still don't think that gun lines are the way to go for the game. I still think they're too vulnerable and too I don't know, hard to say. However, it's not nothing that the shooting list, the gun line rat list won best general. So when it came to just total raw battle point wins, that's what won the day. Um, let's see. I think my list is good. I think it needs to change. I think the shield breakers need to go away, and I need another unit of Brock Riders. So I'm just going to do that for Alamo. I just think having that much more power and that much more reach works. I think otherwise, though, the people who sort of turned their nose up at my organ cannons, they performed well the entire tournament. Having 2 breath weapons in addition to 2 organ cannons is really nice in the mid to late game. I like playing aggressively. I like playing dwarves that are flexible, that can fight in close combat, they can defend themselves, or they can shoot. So I think I want to keep refining on that mixed arms concept for dwarves. When it came down to the end of the tournament, though, I was really surprised. I was chosen as #1 sports, which has never happened for me. I think that's kind of a testament to what happens when you have a dwarf army that is capable of fielding not a gun line. People don't get mad when they face it, and so you can be a nice guy, and people aren't ruining the day that they set up against you because they don't have to get shot off the board in the first couple of turns like they did with Warhammer. So it's always a fun game, and I think that really helps. So it was cool. I got first sports. That was really exciting. I also got voted. My army got voted as second player's choice, which is the first for me as well. That was really nice. So that meant that my army was the second favorite in the room, second to Robbie King's amazing troll army, which if you can find them online, a picture online, they look fantastic. He built this all troll goblin army pretty much, and it's when it comes together, it's like a puzzle. And when you piece it together, it looks like a bunch of trolls converging on a bridge that are about to kill a group of adventurers that are holding out, a bunch of elf adventurers that are holding out on it. It's just such a cool concept, and he absolutely deserved and won it by a landslide, from what I understand. Player's choice. He was my vote, and it was great. So I'm not sure what my placement was overall. You are awarded the top spot in whatever category you happen to win. So because I won first sports, it's still possible that I placed in the top 3 or 5 of any other category. I had 82 battle points at the end of the day. I obviously had a very good sports score, and I probably had a very good paint score. So my thinking is that I placed overall pretty high. And in the generalship, I might have been top 10 or top 8. We'll see. So I'm pretty proud of my performance on all levels at this tournament, and I'm really happy with how it went. The Kings of War is going to struggle to gain steam over time. We had less players at the tournament. We did wind up raising several $100s for charity, which is pretty cool. I love that when tournaments are doing charity, and they're doing it more and more. So I'm looking forward to the Alamo, where I'll change my list a little bit and hopefully do better with a different list. And I'll see you guys then.